What's going on, everyone? Camille here, back for MLS Digest. We're here for Week 17 MLS picks. We've had a couple of down weeks, but we're looking to get that on, flip that and go on another run here, get into the positive again. I didn't post the show for the midweek games we had earlier this week, but once again, make sure you follow my Twitter. It's the same as the name of the channel, MLS Digest. I had a couple plays during the midweek, but yeah, anyways. We're here for Saturday's slate. There's a game today, actually, at the time of recording, San Jose versus NYCFC. We're not going to be covering that, but I have 4 show plays for you guys. And if I have any more ads, once again, make sure you go follow my Twitter if you want to keep up with that. So let's just get into Week 17 picks. So for the first play of the show, I'm taking New York Red Bull on the money line here. I'm going to minus 125. And I think it's a really good price for a team that's 4 wins and 2 draws at home, no losses. And they have had the luxury of they had a bit of a bye. They didn't play last weekend, and then so they got rest from the Hudson River Derby, and then they had that game off, and then they played midweek at home and they're remaining home. Meanwhile, Orlando had to travel all the way to San Jose the other week. They had to travel back, and now they've been on a little bit of a road trip. They went midweek to Chicago. Now they're coming here and they tied 1-1 at Chicago, which really isn't all that impressive. I think they should have beaten them. But they've had Duncan McGuire out for a while now. He's questionable to even play in this game. If he does, I think he only makes the bench here. And they really just don't offer that much in attack regardless. He will obviously boost their attack, but the way their system is set up now, they're definitely been a little bit more defensively solid, but besides the one of the craziest goals you'll ever see, and just pathetic defending in terms of MLS play, in their game against the Fire, where that early goal, they didn't create anything else against the Fire. So they're gonna be much less rested. Continuing this road trip, Red Bulls are just too good at home, and I don't think they're gonna over rotate here. And this is a price that I really just can't pass up because Red Bull is still in that top half of expected goals. Orlando really isn't creating much anyways. And yeah, their defense has been pretty average. Galese is a liability, as you saw if you saw the goal he gave up against the Fire. It's just kind of been week after week goals that he shouldn't be giving up. He is. And yeah, Red Bulls guys are fully good to go, I think. And the situation and the price makes me back the Red Bulls here because Orlando really does leak on the road, regardless of if they contribute themselves. And I don't see them putting much pressure on this Red Bull defense. For the second pick here, I'm taking Minnesota United on the money line at the same price, minus 125 against Kansas City. And I think this is a really good price. Obviously, the schedule congestion for both these teams is factored in. But listen, Kansas City is dead last in expected goals per 90. Their attack is aging, and Peter Vermees, I think he has to go at this point. He has probably the longest leash in the league. He's been the longest tenured coach, but nothing's working right now. They're not getting results. They don't particularly look a dangerous or fun team to watch. Regardless, it's not like they're just not getting results, but they're playing good. Neither has been working for them. And Minnesota, on the other hand, they've been really solid this year. Still towards the top of the West. They're top 7 in expected goals per 90. Their defensive numbers aren't great, but Kansas City's aren't either. And Kansas City has been just absolutely off on the road recently. They've lost their last 4 road games after a decent start. They lost to the likes of Timbers, Austin, and Salt Lake. And then they also played this exact fixture. I think we took Minnesota in the same spot. The game was about a little over a month ago. We took Minnesota at home against KC in that first one. They won 2-1. So they've already played each other. They know how each is gonna come for the game. And I think this actually suits Minnesota a little more because Minnesota, they're coming off a bit of a couple poor results. They drew at Rapids on the road. Then they went to LAFC. I think they got really hard done. They got a goal taken away. And then, LAFC's been, I think it's 4 or 5 now clean sheets in a row defensively. So they've been just a really super solid team. Their defense has improved as good as their offense usually is. They're looking really solid. but you're not going to win every game. Minnesota's still a solid team, and the thing is that they against LAFC midweek they played Pookie and Zhang up top, so two of their better striker options in Hlongwane and Oluwayasi are going to be rested here, so I think they get the nod over the likes of Pookie. They've been kind of rotating, between all these options, and I like that if they're good to go here, and that's what I expect. And yeah, Kansas City hasn't shown us anything. They're just probably in one of the worst runs of forms out of any team. They started super slow last year as well and rebounded, but I don't think that's coming here in terms of like a late playoff push. They're just a really, really bad team in all aspects, and they just lost one of their better kind of midfielder towards attacking midfielder options in Tommy for a couple weeks. So the squad depth is even thinner now. They did rest some of their top guys in terms of Russell and Pulido when they hosted Vancouver midweek. So they're probably going to be full strength as well. But this attack just doesn't scare me. They're leaking way too much defensively. They have no idea how to play out of the back from the matches I've watched them in. And yeah, Minnesota has just been a solid team in general, especially at home, where obviously they beat KC like I mentioned before. They only have one loss on the year, and it's three wins and 3 draws besides that. So as much as Minnesota's defensive numbers can be a little off-putting, I think they definitely can put 2 or 3 past Kansas City, who has just been leaking to anyone. So I'm going to take the price here. It's something I can't pass as well. I think a lot of these home teams on these short rests, especially against teams who are on the middle of road trips and have to travel from that Wednesday to Saturday game, I think it's a good spot to fade some of these teams. So for the third play here, I'm going with the over 2.5 between Nashville and the Revs. And this has hit in 5 out of Nashville's 7 home games. Both have scored in 6 out of their 7 home games. And the Revs are just obviously one of the worst teams of the league, if not the worst. They're dead last in expected goals allowed per 90, which is good for this. It doesn't matter whether they're home or away, they're going to leak. And Nashville's got a little bit of confidence going right now. They just beat Cincinnati at home, probably the shocker of the midweek slate, after Cincinnati was about 7 or 8 wins in a row. And that's just the parity of this league. So they're on a bit of a high now because their coach just got his first win as the interim. And he kind of tinkered with the lineup a bit. Serge was an unused sub as the 9. They played Bunbury instead. They got a couple goals off set pieces, which they're usually pretty good at with their big guys like Zimmerman and such. Their center backs are really good in those areas. But regardless, I think Serge is with the rotation, Serge is gonna play here, so that helps their cause. And New England's a little bit rested. They didn't have a midweek game, and then the previous weekend they only had to travel to New York, so not too much travel here. They got a normal amount of rest as they would if it was just week by week type of schedule. So that's a bit of an advantage here. They should be fully ready to go. Neither of these teams' attacking numbers are great, but New England is just so bad defensively that Nashville, I think, with the tinkering they've been doing, the home bump here, they could easily score the 3 themselves because New England's going to leak probably regardless. But New England is a little bit more rested here in this situation, and they're getting a couple of their. I think they're gonna obviously be as full strength as they can, even though that's really not saying too much with the quality that they've shown this year, but. Nashville, as much as we want to think what they should be or what they can be, they haven't been showing their defensive, skill this year as much as last year. So that identity hasn't really remained. So I can see, a 2-1 or 3-1 Nashville, maybe even 3-0 Nashville. There is weather concerns here with a lot of rain, but honestly, I think the price here is pretty good, pretty playable, because I think just how bad these two defenses have been, how back and forth most of their matches are, both are going to really push for this, and I'm going to take a flyer on this over. All right, guys, so for the last play, I'm going with a 2-leg parlay here. The first part of that being Union on the money line. They're one of the most juiced, money lines of the week as teams get kind of adjusted from this midweek slate and a short rest to the weekend. And yeah, Union have the benefit of staying home here after the midweek slate. They got a bit of a disappointing 0-0 draw against Toronto. But Toronto's, strategy was pretty much to just pretty much defend a lot compared to their home form and home strategy. Union are still top 5 in expected goals per 90, and Montreal is second worst in expected goals allowed per 90. So they're just have been in a landslide since that first week or couple weeks of the season. Union obviously though have not showed up at home compared to their unbeaten road form. So I think they're really going to want to get off the mark here and just get a pretty straightforward win against Montreal, who once again can just leak to anybody. They're super, super thin. They've been losing a lot of guys in midfield and up top, so they really don't offer too much threat here. I know they got a 4-2 win against DC midweek, but DC's has had their own problems with losing a center back for the year. They got a couple guys rotating in and out and on suspensions, so they've also just been a back and forth team where usually their games go have a lot of goals in them both ways. So Charlotte on the road just has been giving up multiple goals in most of their games, winless in their last 5 on the road. And I mean, Garanza didn't play midweek because of a minor ankle injury, but I think he should be good to go here based on what Curtin was talking about and his availability. And just kind of a look ahead, I think I will probably be taking Carranza to score here if he does start. So just once again, look ahead on Twitter to see if I lock that in and just any plays I might have as we see more of what some of these lineups look like. But yeah, this is a pretty straightforward play here, or first leg of the parlay. And to move on to the second leg, this is the only Sunday game of the slate, and I'm taking the under 3.5 in this Atlanta-Charlotte game. I was kind of also debating just making the 2.5 or the 3, because the 2.5 is at plus money, some pretty good plus money. I was debating making that just a solo play, but we're getting plus money for this 2-leg anyway, so I'm going to take that extra goal protection here with the 3.5. Charlotte has the best expected goals allowed numbers on the road in the league. They really know how to park it and just make teams work for these results on the road, even if they don't get them. And just in general, that they're just shutout kings for the most part, or 0-0 kings. More be it at home, but even on the road, they make teams work for it. Once again, Atlanta, they're kind of getting a couple guys back. Almada's been back. Now Giacomakis played about 15 minutes or so maybe in that game against Miami, which was a huge road win for them, a huge pick-me-up because they were winless in 9. They're getting back home here. I think the line has moved a lot in their favor. They were plus money to start the week for their money line, and it's already like minus 130 or whatever. And yeah, they should be favored here to win because Charlotte really offers nothing in attack. They don't really have a true niner now. Augie Ming's had his spurts and moments, but hasn't really been too reliable. And yeah, they have a little bit of a depth issue right now, and they're kind of rotating a lot. So it's pretty clear where their strategy lies, especially on the road. And they're not going to really fold too much under pressure in terms of conceding several goals or anything like that. But Atlanta's still going to have to work for it. They haven't looked amazing, but their defense has been improving. In that game against Miami, you could see they're a little bit more organized and kind of committed as a defensive unit. So if Charlotte were to offer anything, I don't really see Atlanta giving up too much here. They've kind of been improving in terms of their defensive numbers. Guzan is a separate story, I guess, because he'll be coming back here, and he's kind of been a bit of a liability. But I think this is one of those where I'd be truly, truly shocked if Charlotte even contributed here. And, if this gets out of hand, it's just kind of all about when that first goal comes and how difficult it is for Atlanta to break through, because we've seen that if it's not really on the counterattack, they're probably gonna have some struggles, breaking teams down. So if they get in the lead and then maybe they could pour it on, this might hurt us, but I don't think it's gonna get to something really out of hand like a 3-0 or 4-0. So I really like these two legs. They should be pretty sweat free for the most part. We're getting plus money for it. So yeah, Union should take care of business and actually use their home advantage for once against one of the East's worst teams. And yeah, Charlotte should continue to be a pretty stubborn opponent on the road as Atlanta still kind of figures things out, because one win isn't gonna completely change this team's dynamic and make them all of a sudden score in bursts. So yeah, take the plus money here and wrap up the show's fourth play and final play as we look ahead to week 17. All right, guys, it's going to do it for the show plays. Make sure to follow my Twitter once again at MLS Digest. I love to post more plays on there and get more info out. Just talk about the slate in general as it goes and the games, and potentially add more picks. Like I said, probably like goal scores and such like that. Like I mentioned with the Philly game, because it's kind of hard to gauge with these rotations who's exactly going to play. But still have a good idea right now, obviously, usually. But I don't want to give out like goal scores too early on without seeing those lineups. So because it's just kind of a waste of time. But yeah, make sure to follow the Twitter, and we have the 4 show plays, which are Minnesota money line, Red Bull money line, Nashville and New England over 2.5, and then the 2-leg parlay, which is Philly Union money line, and then the second leg of that being Atlanta and Charlotte under 3.5. Yeah, we're taking 2 home teams on the money line at some pretty decent value for the teams they're playing against, who are on a little bit more tired legs and on road trips. And yeah, we're kind of trying to take advantage of several different spots. We have a lot of stuff mixed in here, different kinds of plays, which I like to do. And yeah, looking forward to the week again. We're almost at the halfway point of the season, and we're trying to go get back into the positives and keep kind of climbing here and turn this kind of little bit of a bad form around. But yeah, excited for these games. Good luck with your picks this weekend, and let me know if what you're on. Have a good one, guys.